Good afternoon. It's Tuesday, September 2nd, 1 o'clock. This is a meeting of the Administrative Committee. All members are present. I'd like to call the meeting to order and acknowledge that the press and the public have been duly notified of the meeting in accordance with the Freedom of Information Act. Citizens' comments? None.
No, sir.
Approval of previous meeting minutes, August 5th, 2025 is in the packet. Do I have a motion to approve?
Motion.
Second.
Any changes or comments? All those in approval, say aye.
Aye.
Old business is, first item of old business is discussion of parameters for program to recognize long-term council members. Councilmember Ward brought this to the committee, and I think we're going to try to come back with some kind of a program or plan.
Well, turns out to be quite a project that I've got a hold of.
Volunteered yourself for.
I volunteer myself for it. It's a big job. You have to go back to, essentially 1953, of course, but the award wouldn't be, the recognition wouldn't be applicable for anybody until after 63. But I have to go through, I've gone through some records in City Hall. I've got to, Amy's been a big help to me, and I've got to go through all the minutes and recognize who's been here for at least three elections or 5 elections. It's not going to be many. I don't have the final report at this time, but I originally thought that we would recognize all boards and commission members too that serve 10 and 20 years, and that's going to be even harder to the discovery process about what that's going to be. But it's not an emergency, and I appreciate the committee's indulgence with me as far as the time goes. I hope to have a bunch of all of the people that would be eligible for recognition by next month's meeting.
Was the intent to go back all the way to when the beginning of the city? Is that
Yep.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, but you see, since the city was incorporated in 53, no one would be eligible till 63.
Yeah, yeah.
If any. I mean, I'm pretty good with going back to 85. I mean, I do that pretty much off the top of my head, with a little help from Amy and Douglas. But before that, I'm gonna need some help, but that's 20 years. But I don't wanna, the worst thing we can do is leave somebody out.
All right, so we'll just keep this on the agenda
All right.
and put it back on the
Yeah.
October meeting. New business, the first item is discussion of timeline for interviews for boards and commission vacancies. I think a summary was just sent to us
Yep.
via email, but maybe Douglas, if you want to run through that and just.
Yes, so we have the window is open for applicants right now. We have 1 on BOZA, 2 on Planning Commission, 2 plus a student on Environmental Advisory, and 5 on Beach Preservation Committee. We have terms of applications received, we have 10 received for the Beach Preservation Committee, and then we have 3 and a student for Environmental Advisory and 2 for the Planning Commission. So we're getting in some good interest in each of those. And I think our thought process is we would just start the interview process in October, or a selection process in October, and interviews in November.
I think the most, it looks like there's a lot of interest in the Beach Preservation Committee, but is there a November deadline for that committee? That's a new through the 2nd of.
Up January 1st anyway.
So it's on the same timeline as the
So
other
I
committees?
think just from
Okay.
a timing perspective, it ends up being
All right.
making sense to just do them all at once in January.
Well, there's quite a few candidates already, and it
Yeah.
stays open till the 26th. So that means, like, I think what you're suggesting in here, maybe, Nicole, is that we're going to probably have to have more than one meeting of the committee in October to be able to get the interviews
I think so.
completed.
Yeah.
And you're gonna, because the first time you look at the applications, I think you all either decided in the past, it's like, well, we might as well just interview everybody, right?
Yeah,
But then
yeah.
sometimes it's like, no, there's been other options where you've just weeded some people out, so you haven't interviewed everybody. But that depends on what you see. And I've just glanced at these things. I haven't looked at any of it. And the Beach Preservation Committee, their makeup is based on, like, the makeup of the committee is suggested that certain people
Yeah.
come from certain physical areas of the island.
Right.
So we've got to consider that as well.
Well, so the first time we're going to get a chance to look at the candidates is at the first of October meeting. So
Yeah.
you're saying we look then, the committee decides basically how we want to move forward from that the meeting.
And you guys can make a
Yeah.
decision if you want to do extra meeting then, or if you want to do some in October, some in November.
Okay,
That's up to you guys.
Historically, we've done very little business usually in December.
Well,
Yeah.
that addresses this, that if you finish
Right.
all of this by November, you can make that recommendation, it shows up on the special meeting in December.
Well,
That's-
I would hope that would be our goal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of how we're lining it up from a scheduling perspective. So it potentially has you having a very busy October, potentially 2 interview meetings in October.
okay.
Short interviews.
15 of them, though. 15 as of now.
Where do you live? Thank you very much. Okay. Next.
That's a lot to interview. I think it may be
Yeah.
worthwhile on some of these that we just get it down, the committee gets it down to 5 or something. If there's multiple, then we interview 5, but.
Isn't there
Yeah.
like 10 applicants for,
So 10 for
Yes.
beach, but I think of the 10, at least 3, if not 4, are already on. They're interested in transitioning from the existing ad hoc committee to this committee. So a handful of them have already been selected, so maybe that's kind of the easiest pool to
yeah.
just
Yeah.
say, we've interviewed you once, we'll put you
Well, if they
in.
want to keep volunteering, it really would be, a shame not to put them back on.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah, generally, the policy is if it's only been 1 term, they're interested in a second term, that's automatic. This happens to be technically a different committee. It's going from an ad hoc committee to a full-time committee, so it is a different committee, but you all could just treat it as similar enough to treat the process the same as though it was one committee. So that might make your work a little easier.
And when I compile all this, I'll attach the ordinance or the resolution that created the Beach Preservation Committee so you can see the breakdown of how the committee was supposed to ideally be across the island.
Yeah, it was
Or
supposed to have
representation.
Well, the
some
terms staggered?
oceanfront.
Are the terms staggered?
I think they are.
Probably, we.
I believe they are.
Yeah. But it was like, somebody had to be within Wild Dunes, and you had to have beachfront, and you had to have somebody not beachfront. So there was that sort of consideration, but I'll grab the ordinance and attach it to the
Okay.
next thing, so you've got that information.
All right, any other thoughts, comments?
If you guys want to encourage anybody to apply, it's open until September 26th. Child's going to do more, but,
Yeah.
if you know anybody that wants to do that, just let them know.
September 26th, okay.
All right, next item is discussion of wage study update.
Yeah, I'll just give a quick, and this is really just coming to you all from the staff. We are hearing from both public safety departments, police and fire, that their wages are falling behind a lot of the competing communities around us, so they're struggling a bit with retention and recruitment. So they have been talking to us about that for at least the last 6 months. Council had, I think informally, agreed to do a wage study every other year. We did not do one this past year, so with the thought that we would do one next year. And we wanted to see if there would be an appetite for, and I guess part of the challenge of a wage study, when you do it, and the results come in the middle of your budget year, you're trying to make an adjustment as an unbudgeted adjustment. So we are wanting to ask you all to consider doing a wage study now so that you have the results back from your wage study to coordinate with your budget discussions so that in July 1st, those wages, if there's adjustments in there, they could be baked into that budget that becomes effective in July. Instead of starting the process in July, you get the results in the middle of the year, and you have amounts that are unbudgeted to be considered. So I'm considering it a shifting forward of this wage study from what I think has kind of been talked about, the way it's happening. We've reached out to the company that did the last one, and what we've asked them for is just an update of the that company already has all of our positions, all of their duties, all of the surrounding communities we wanted to be considered in that analysis, and we've asked them to what it would cost to update kind of just the numbers, but keep that framework the same. And I think it was about 16,000?
16.5.
We have
16,000.
that budgeted?
And this would be
Did
a-
we budget that into the wage study? We didn't?
No.
Okay.
So this would be an unbudgeted, that amount is unbudgeted.
Are you suggesting we do the whole city?
Yes.
Or do just the public safeties?
The whole
Full
city.
city.
Open suggestions, I mean, you all can, if you would rather do
Well, I
it,
think it makes sense to put it at a budget cycle. I mean, because it's way you can look at it and plan it through. But, so that, I forgot the time frame that it takes them to do that. I think it's a couple months or something.
At least
but,
3.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if I start in October, they should have it done by the 1st of January with the holidays in there. And that's about the time that we sit down and work on our budget numbers.
Do you need a motion or a recommendation from us?
yes.
Yes.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion, we approve a wage study update.
Second.
All right. Any other thoughts or?
If you all have,
So we take this to workshop? Is
Yes.
that what it is?
yeah, we would put it on the workshop agenda, just talk it through with full council.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
The next item is discussion for triggers for short-term rental license revocation. I think Ashley asked this to be on the agenda, so I don't know if you want to talk about it.
Sure, yeah, thanks. It's kind of been brought to my attention fairly recently, is that when a founded warning is issued to a property, that it also counts as a strike against that property. I, mistakenly had basically always assumed that its citation was also issued to the offender, but that is not the case in order for it to count as a strike. So the family vacation rental group, we meet regularly and discuss these types of things, and just really feel strongly that a founded noise warning is not fair or to count as a strike against a rental property. So we're proposing that a founded, with a citation should be counting as a strike. And, that's pretty much the gist of it. That Mel Miles, on behalf of the group, has sent us all an email, and very well thought out, and a couple of proposed solutions that he offers. And, I just think that this is, what we have now is not a way to, one of the reasons to deter the behavior that we're not wanting in our community. If the offender gets off scot-free, but yet there's a strike against the property owner. And in most cases, they are managed by a professional management company who takes great lengths to inform the guests prior to their arrival, prior to even booking, of the policies that are set forth. And, they're not getting any repercussion, so they can just continue to come back to the area and, violate the ordinance once again, and then just go home with, no, nothing, to deter them from doing it again. They just receive a warning. So just thinking about that.
You propose an ordinance change or a motion or anything from the committee?
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to propose that we take this to the workshop next week and let the full council discuss and forward on, the couple of proposed solutions that have been detailed here. Obviously, make adjustments or throw in the trash. I mean, but I think it's worth discussing to keep it fair between all residents, second homeowners, and people that choose to vacation rent their home. I just think that in order of fairness, it's worth discussing.
Well, to help Nicole out and help me out, could you condense that motion a little bit?
So I'd just like to make a motion that we, propose to review these in our workshop next week. Is that?
Can I make a couple comments?
Second.
I don't know what we want to do. I think this is probably the wrong venue to have the discussion. It really should be the Public Safety Committee. The Public Safety Committee, I think, has taken this on. In fact, I think both of us, Councilman Ward and I were on it just a year ago where we talked about this very issue on the Public Safety Committee and decided to do nothing about it. But it's, I do believe that it should go there and have the benefit of having the police chief as well there to talk about it, because I think there's some confusion personally around founded complaints and violations, and maybe Douglas, you can chime in this when I'm finished as well. But, I think this isn't an issue of fairness for me. I don't know where fairness comes in, but on an unfounded complaint doesn't mean that there wasn't a violation of the ordinance that we have. Just because a citation wasn't written, or that matter, even a warning given, a founded complaint is a violation of our ordinance. And that's why many of the noise ordinance especially are found to be unfounded, because they weren't, at that time, doesn't mean they weren't a valid complaint, but the officers, when they showed up, didn't feel like there was a violation of the ordinance. So they are violations of our ordinance, despite the fact there was no citation or not a warning given. But the Planning Commission reviewed this, and Douglas, you can get the timing for me, right? But I believe around 8 years ago. And there used to be, me either. There used to be it used to be based on citations, and I think it was 3 at that time. And the Planning Commission and Council at that time felt like they need to expand it to founded complaints in the interest of livability and the protection of the citizens' quality of life. And frankly, I don't know why this is such an issue or where the unfairness comes, because since that time, there's only been one instance where a rental home has received 5 violations, and that was this year. And at that point, all council unanimously felt, and the council and the Planning Commission and Council 8 years ago felt like, look at 5 complaints from a rental property warranted that rental company to come forward to council and look at it, because it seems like it's violating a resident's quality of life. And to sit before council and decide whether that license, a license is not a right, it's a privilege. It's a privilege to do business in a residential neighborhood. And they felt it was important to come before council and decide whether they should continue to have that license, should be suspended for some period of time, or some action taken. And only one time since that has been put in place has that occurred. So I don't understand where the issue is, or where the fairness and unfairness point of this is coming. And I frankly, I thought I knew what the Family Vacation Rentals mission was, and I felt pretty good about them, but I'm starting to wonder whether, what their mission really is, because it seems like they want to continue to work against having this a family-friendly island when they bring items like this up. Just last month, we took roll carts out of the strike. So now it's only really serious issues of noise, of parking, of cars, of having a license or not having a license. So I think that, this fairness issue is kind of a mystery to me, to tell you the truth. So I don't, at most, I think we should go and get validation from the chief and from the Public Safety Committee on what is a founded complaint. I think there's a misnomer thinking that, that we're just going around putting strikes on rental properties for no valid reason.
So if a policeman shows up at the house, that's going to be a strike.
No.
Only if
no.
he, so I
If
guess
he has an unfounded,
If it's-
unfounded
if it's
complaint is
founded.
not a strike. Only if the police officer arrives and there is a violation of a code, it would be found as a founded complaint
and a strike.
and a strike. So, the change that, John is referencing, prior to it being unfounded complaints, it was 3 citations. The problem with the citations, is it became obvious that if a property owner got 2, and then the third one came in, they could very easily manipulate the court system to ask for continuances, to ask for jury trial, and so it was a bit of a system with a loophole that could let a potential, somebody looking to lose their license could get out of it. So that seemed to be too loose of a criteria. So recognizing that a founded complaint is a lower bar than a citation, the Planning Commission recommended adding to the number, so increase it from 3 to 5, but at the same time lower the bar to a easier bar to control, where they knew that, again, a kind of a crafty lawyer could continue citations forever and ever, probably, without having them happen in 1 year. So there were some just administrative hang-ups with having it tied to a citation.
Well, I'm in agreement with Ashley, and the main problem I have with the whole thing is I believe in my house, I play my stereo loud every night. I get 365 tickets, and I go and pay all those tickets, but the city's not going to kick me out of my house because they can't. And I thought it's a question of equity to me, in that you're holding the rental property at a higher standard than a resident has to meet.
Well, at the end of the day, and, this is but the teeth in the municipal summons ordinance for you, or anybody who is habitually violating the code, is jail time.
Yeah.
So there is a heavy hand at the end of the road for a resident who chooses not to behave.
But I don't have to leave. Maybe I'll go to jail.
You got to go to jail.
But when I get back from jail, I'm not kicked out. I don't lose my right to live in my house.
That's right, but there is a heavy hand at the end of the road for a resident who habitually violates the code. If you have transient occupants, you don't have that kind of heavy hand at the end of the road. So this is kind of the closest thing that you can get to a transient group, because you're not going to put the fifth person to have the stereo loud, you're not going to put them in jail for 30 days because you couldn't get a hold of it. So this is a process to try to get the attention of an owner to get it under control.
And it's not a right. You have a right to live in your house, but you don't, a rental owner of a property doesn't have the right to rent their house. It's a privilege. They have to get a license, and there's certain criteria that come with that license for you to rent your house on a short-term basis. So I think there's a difference.
You have a right to use your property as long as you're obeying the law, right?
Yeah.
You take away
And-
all their rights.
And the law says you have to get a license to rent your house.
I'm-
And there's certain
I-
criteria that come along with that license.
I think my main point maybe didn't come across, but to me and to a lot of members of the group, it's a deterrent of that behavior. I mean, right now, issuing a citation to the actual offender, I think, is more effective in getting your point across to that guest of the property that they can't come back and do it again. I'm not, stating that we issue citations to the homeowner themselves, but to the actual guest of the property, whoever that may be. And I think what you'll find, and I've spoken with the chief, a number of times, most of these violations are founded, but they issue a warning because there's not a very serious offense going on. I think if it were serious, they would issue a citation without question. But these calls and complaints that are coming in, the police officer shows up, they inform them, probably once again for the 5th or 6th time, depending who, they're renting from or whoever, but inform them of the policy and that they're, in potential violation, and they stop the behavior. So we really don't see a lot of, citations because the warning is sufficient enough. And, it's just kind of like when you're speeding and the officer issues a warning, it doesn't also count as like points against your license. I mean, it's just, to me, the main thing is deterring the behavior from returning and actually, issuing a citation to the person who is violating the ordinance.
Yeah, I think that's a complete lack of empathy for a homeowner and a resident that continues to get complaints. It may be a homeowner that's there for 3 days, okay? I mean, a renter, and you issue them a thing. And then next week, another homeowner, a renter shows up, and then they get a ticket. But that homeowner, they won't call and issue a complaint unless they have a real issue with the noise going on. If it's at 1:30 or 2:30 in the morning, 52 weeks a year, they could be getting complaints. Now, the renter will get citations and pay fines and all that. But at some point, we have to hold the owner
I'm
of
not
that
saying not to
home.
count it as a strike, though. I mean, if the guest
But
gets a
I'm saying this,
citation,
you
it
said
still
it's
counts
not
as a strike.
serious, and so they're getting citations,
No.
warnings. Well, it may not be serious to the violator or those observing, but to the person that called, it's a serious issue. We're getting more and more noise complaints
Well, then I
now
think
than we
should
ever have.
Be issuing a fine to that person if it's a serious issue.
I'm all for issuing fines, but I don't think we should take the onus away from the renter and the management companies that manage their properties in a way that aligns with residents, with rentals blending in with our residential communities, not causing chaos and noise and other things on a habitual pattern. And I think this has been a deterrent for that.
So you say the noise violations were going up?
Yeah, we've seen more noise violations
You
in the
have
last
any,
year.
you have any data, any
Well, it's in our,
numbers?
every week you can see it, it's in our, every month it's in our workshop.
Yeah, I haven't
pack.
noticed that it's
Yeah.
been going up that
Yeah.
much. I haven't
Yeah.
noticed that.
But also, a person could call on a particular property multiple times in one weekend.
Mm-hmm.
And again, the offender gets off scot-free and the property owner is getting, multiple strikes potentially. It's just, doesn't make any sense to me why the person who is violating the ordinance is not receiving a fine.
Yeah, I'm all for that. If you want to suggest that we encourage our police officers to start writing violations to the offenders, I'm all for that.
I just don't
If that's the
understand
issue,
why a
if that's the
warning is-
issue, I want to issue more citations. And I think part of it is that the noise, in particular, the noise ordinance, the police force feels is a very subjective ordinance, and been asking for us to pass something that more is quantitative, that they can enforce, that they feel comfortable if they do write a ticket, they can bring it here to court and defend it. Right now, they're very skeptical, so they just go in there and they issue a warning, and they're hesitant to issue citations. The chief has told us that. They want, and the livabilities officers told us they want a noise ordinance that they can defend.
I also remember the chief saying that they had one in Myrtle Beach, but they took it off the books.
Well, no, they didn't take it off the books. I think they felt like, when he talked to that chief in Myrtle Beach, the chief felt like it was problematic, especially for some of their areas that have high visitor areas, that the decibel levels were too low. But they didn't take it off the books. In fact, we have one, there's one right across the bridge, and we don't have to go to Mount Pleasant, we can go right across the bridge to Mount Pleasant. There's a lot of noise ordinances all over, and look I don't want to litigate the noise ordinance here, but I'm just saying that that's part of why the chief is saying that he is very reluctant on writing, and his officers are reluctant to writing citations, and that's part of why I think this should go to the Public Safety Committee, because it's all, that conversation should take place, along with the noise ordinance. When are they writing, tickets versus founded complaints, and who they're writing. They can't write a ticket to an owner. They have to write it to the violator, who's the renter.
Well, my experience has been these committees, and we've reduced committees, but in the past, they've had pretty much a pretty wide latitude about what they discuss. And if somebody says, well, just maybe it should be there, but we're all council members, let's discuss this. So I think it's, Ashley bringing it up is valid, and I'm all for taking it to public safety also. But I think,
I just think it needs
we've
more
hashed
work.
it out, and I'd like to hear more from the chief, but I've sat through a lot of discussions about the noise ordinance, and it never could get any legs. And so,
We've got another, I don't know if you're aware, Jimmy, but we've got another version of this noise ordinance on the public safety agenda for next week.
yep, I know about it.
It's a watered down version, but it is a version that makes it more quantitative than the current one. I'd like to see this go to public safety, and we can take the letter that, and I think we should make that letter public, by the way. Nicole, if you should attach the letter that we received from
Did I get it too?
Mel Miles. I don't think you did, but Douglas has it, or I'll forward it to you.
We have a motion on the table and a second.
Yeah.
And so
And what's the
it's-
motion?
To move it to council for discussion.
For workshop.
All right.
So let's
So-
let's just take
Yeah,
him.
so all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Nay. So I guess it'd go to council workshop.
For discussion.
All right. Next meeting is on October 7th.